You're watching India Today with me, Nabila Jamal. It's a fact that all of us are bothered due to this unending lockdown period. But like they say, the longer you stay indoors, the safer you are. But is staying home really safe for every single one of us? The LGBTQ community would say otherwise. Here's why. Those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or queer are particularly facing quite a tough lockdown period. Many are stuck in hostile environments, homes where family members are unwilling to accept their sexuality, resulting in constant mental and physical abuse inside closed doors. The transgender community is possibly the worst hit. They currently lack the support system needed. They mostly live hand to mouth, and with no source of income, no sex work, no festivals or marriages for them to earn from, no streets to beg on, many are left experiencing severe bouts of anxiety. Medical attention for them during this period is not easy either. LGBT activists say they've had a flood of SOS calls. People claiming that they are unable to fit in. Others seeking help for depression and suicidal tendencies. At a time of acute economic hardships and rising unemployment, LGBT community activists have come forward to help those in dire distress. Their aim is to make this struggle more bearable, to urge people to give space to those who want to live with pride. Nabila Jamal for India Today. All right, we have with us for more details on this, Rudrani Chetri, who is an actor, an activist herself. Of course, Rudrani is also a founder of Mitra Trust. She has actively worked towards the upliftment of the LGBT. Also joining us today is Vivek. Vivek Anand is CEO of Humsafar Trust. He's worked extensively for the upliftment of the LGBT. Sharif also joining us, who's a festival director of Rainbow Lit Fest, who's also an author himself. We also have joining us today on the panel is Rituparna Bora, who's the co-founder of Nazaria, a queer feminist resource group. All of them have worked extensively towards the upliftment of the LGBT. This is a time that they need you the most. Thank you very much for joining us. Rudrani, I'll start with you. Do you want to shoot off on the current situation that the transgenders are left with owing to this lockdown?
So the situation is pretty difficult, where we are trying to reach out maximum number of transgender, but the only problem is because they earn on a daily wages, even if there is a traditional way of earning, of say begging or sex work. So they are totally out of their job and business. They are living in places which are rented, not in a very formal way. So that's why landlord are also, putting them under a lot of pressure to vacate the house, leave the house, or pay the rent ASAP. And the rents are also incompatibly, twice than any general person. So this is a very difficult time. And a lot of people are also on, using life-saving drugs, for example, ARVs, which are HIV medicine. So a lot of people are facing those difficulties as well.
Well, would you want to share some experiences of a few people that you have met with and come across? What are trans members that don't have a job currently? There's no sex work for them as well. How are they being catered to currently?
See, it's not since the lockdown, from the third day itself, there are stress calls, which is first it was the stress call for the food. Then it started for, the shelter thing. So a lot of people are calling who are also facing, difficulties. They're calling and telling things ki ma'am, हमारे घर में कुछ भी नहीं है, राशन नहीं है. Or there are a lot of other people also who are facing, domestic violence just because they live with a partner. It is not only about food, it's not about only shelter, it's not only about, their medicine, but there are other difficulties that now they are facing. So there is one girl who calls me around, 3 in the night. She wants me to come and rescue this, whatever is happening with her. The partner is doing a lot of domestic violence with this woman, trans woman. So
they're basically stuck in households with those people who are not accepting them for who they are. Many of their family members turning violent at a time like this. They're not even allowed to step out of their homes. So this is a situation that they face every day. Yes. Right.
So it's
Yeah,
just an
their
individual
environment is not
surviving.
favorable, you'd
Yes.
say. Rituparna, going to you, would you believe that this is a struggle with all members of the LGBT?
Yes, it is a struggle for all the members of the LGBTIQ community, and mostly for queer women and trans person, because we work with queer women who are very invisibilized in the entire LGBTIQ discourse. So we run a helpline, and in this helpline, calls have considerably increased. Earlier it was 2 to 3 calls a week. Now it's 10 to 12 calls, or even 17 calls a week,
And
which
what
is
are they
which
saying in
can
these
be
calls? What are
mostly
typically their
about domestic
concerns?
violence, but yeah, mostly about domestic violence by parents. For queer women, it's domestic violence by parents. Trans men are forced to wear clothes not assigned to their gender identity or expression. Queer women are also forced to open up accounts in shadi.com and matrimony.com to see prospective groups online, thanks to
Their
the
parents are
internet.
forcing them.
The parents are
Basically,
forcing them
during this lockdown, they've got the perfect opportunity to try and guide them the right way. That's the mentality.
and also calling them a phase. And also we have had calls from people outside Delhi who want to run away from the violent families, but because of the lockdown in states and also the borders have been sealed, we have not been able to rescue people. We have tried to get in touch with SPs and 181, but we have not been able to rescue them currently, and we are still trying to rescue them from their abusive households.
No, but even if they're calling you, how is it that you're helping out, Rituparna?
Yeah. So we have got together certain funds for trans masculine people, trans men, not trans women, because trans men are very scattered. We also we are also hiring a mental health counselor. We had a mental health counselor. Now we are hiring a mental health counselor, because mental health is a very big important aspect in this entire thing, and we are trying to provide free online counseling to every LGBTIQ member of the society, because of the kind of violence that they're dealing in home, because of the kind of surveillance, what to wear, what to say, what not to say.
Yeah, now they're being schooled by those people who are in their vicinity, right? Vivek,
Yes.
to you, let me go over to Vivek. Vivek, what you've witnessed of this situation for the LGBT, please go on.
Okay, so first things first, I realized that in this entire pandemic, LGBT community is one community that has been totally invisibilized in the larger narrative. I mean, no, this is the first time I'm talking about it. And as Humsafar, we are working nationally, reaching out to the entire spectrum of LGBTQ. We notice there are, rampant violence from families. Trans men, trans women, they cannot, you have to dress up in your, if you're male-bodied, you dress up as a man or you dress up as a woman. I have my own team members who have no choice, identifying as trans women but live as men in the houses or else face violence. Eviction of transgender community. See, most of the transgender communities are daily wage earners. Whatever happens to them,
yeah, they're hand to mouth. They have to earn on a daily basis to fend for themselves. And this lockdown, we believe, has impacted the LGBTQ the most in terms of losing out on jobs, facing this severe economic crunch. It's not easy for them to go outrightly be accepted, find a job. So they're certainly furthermore marginalized.
Yeah, daily wage earners are not earning, but even people who had jobs are losing their jobs. And it is and especially, if you look at the LGBTQ community, understand, like any other part of the population, there are 70% of our beneficiaries are from the lower socioeconomic strata of the society. Their monthly incomes are very, very meager. It's like 3,000, 4,000 per month. Today, they are rendered jobless. There is absolutely nothing to take back home, face violence. We've dealt with eviction threats from the landlords where we've actively come in and we said that this cannot happen. But the largest issue is that gay men and trans women, who face the largest burden of HIV, reaching out to HIV positive gay men or trans women, providing them with their ART drugs is such a huge challenge. And though we have all the support from our ART centers, but how do we reach out to them? Like nowadays, our ART clinic opens just twice a week. and we assign people that, one person comes at 11, one comes at 12, so that social distancing can be maintained, but we can't keep it open for more than twice a week. Okay, and there are many instances where our health workers actually gone and delivered medicines, so they leave it at the gate of the building and then the person comes and collects it. We've been running this relief fund for the LGBTQ and the most impacted LGBTQ communities. And Nabila, so far we have been able to reach out to more than 2,000 individuals. But mind you, the requests are going up every day.
Yeah, we understand that the SOS calls are coming in. You're being flooded with several requests, many of them even mentioning the word suicide. And that's the reason to why we've taken up this issue today. We want the LGBTQ community to feel secure. And that won't happen unless and until the mentality changes. The environment that they're living in needs to be more, compatible for them. How does that even happen if there isn't a concept of the LGBTQ in the minds of several of the families at all? They feel that that's abnormal. And no matter how much you try to condition them, this is unfortunately how we're going to look at it for the next few generations maybe. Sharif, we're looking at several cases coming to fore where LGBTQ is facing absolute hostility in the environments that they are in right now. Many of them who want to leave their homes and get out are unfortunately not able to do so. They're stuck in their homes. A lot of them have lost their jobs, so they're forced to come back to their families who've ill-treated them all along.
What got me really worried and worked up, and I've had conversations with various people working on ground, is the situation is so hopeless that a person like me, who's basically like a festival director and an author, I've been getting random calls from various people, and mostly from small towns, from Jaipur, from Indore. And some of the cases are very similar to what Rituparna or Rudrani have been talking about. But I've had some young boys who've just come out hardly a few weeks ago, just before the lockdown, and the parents hadn't at all digested what they've shared, and they've been raising a lot of questions. Now, what in some homes they've been locked in a room within the whole lock-in, within the whole home being locked, and they've just been once in a while being given food, things like that. They just left entirely on their own. Some of the calls
this is what, in a bid to teach them a lesson, to try and teach them the right way?
To try and teach them, saying that whatever you're saying is a lie, until you accept that this is a phase, until you accept that once the lockdown is over, we will take you to a doctor to convert you, to set your mind right. Things like that are being done, and they have no place to go. The fact that they even call me is clearly that it's a hopeless situation.
What are your tips and suggestions that you're giving them? Because the country is watching you today, maybe many of the LGBTQ members as well. They'd like to know how to deal with this.
Well, in some cases where there is still a little bit of a dialogue, I kind of, it's not always the best situation to constantly tell people to negotiate spaces, negotiate things with the parents, maybe accept some things for the time being, and, then take steps post the lockdown. There's no other way. You can't get out of home, and you're stuck there. You're just literally stuck there. So what do? You never know whether the parents call the police in, complicate the matter later on. There have been cases where in the past, prior to even the lockdown, where parents have claimed the child has, stolen something when they haven't.
False allegations on their own children. Right? Yeah.
So, the situation is worse. So you can't get into a situation where you're going to increase the conflict. This is what I feel, at least at this point in time.
Right.
So
let me ask Vivek as well. Vivek, in a word to counsel and calm these members who are feeling threatened, what would be your advice?
We are telling them to avoid confrontational situations. Do not get into situations which will incite violence against them, because then there is like absolutely no redressal. But at the same time, there's a way of negotiating that right now I am not prepared. We can talk about these things later. This is a bad situation and we can have this discussion. We can postpone the talk, but not right now. But avoid violence if you can.
Avoid confrontation. Would you say that? Avoid confrontation altogether?
Yeah.
I would say, avoid confrontation that would lead to violence. Do not avoid a dialogue, because there are many times parents are up for dialogue.
Dialogue
also.
eventually leads to a confrontation. There's never a dialogue, especially in households like this, which have already been abusive in the past. It's very hard to convince them. And the moment you initiate a dialogue, it leads to a fight in the next word.
Yeah.
No, what Nabila, I've seen many instances where parents have initiated a dialogue. They also want to talk.
But that's more often than not, the talk is initiated to better them. According to the parents, that will bring them into their fold, back into their fold.
No, but that's one thing I would say, that if we could avoid these discussions at the moment, you know, like, let's not talk about it right now. Let this get over and we'll sit and talk about it later. But avoid violence, avoid confrontation at this point of time.
Rituparna, your suggestions as well on this.
Yes. So some of us have actually made a document about what is, and based on that document, we are saying that, you know, don't worry, your parents will not fix up your marriage right now because it's social distancing. Avoid confrontation, avoid dialogues on gender sexuality, and send your location to a nearest your loved ones, so that if violence happens, someone can come and rescue you. Keep some money safe with you. Practice some mindfulness, grounding techniques we are teaching them. So these are some of the things I'd like to tell the LGBTIQ community while watching this program, is that just remember, it is not for a lifetime. We are there to help you, and we'll be there whenever this lockdown is over. We can help you come out of your violent situation, but for a time being, avoid confrontation and dialogue. Keep some cash with you. Keep your IDs safe with you. And if you need to leave your household, this will really help you while leaving this household. Yeah.
Right. Let's quickly go over to Richa. Richa has given her tip or two. She has counseled several of the members of the LGBT. She's also spoken up with regards to grounding techniques on how to keep yourself calm during this period for the LGBT particularly. Let's take a listen.
Firstly, try engaging in self-affirming activities that can help you stay in touch with your identity. For trans and non-binary individuals, it could mean wearing clothes or accessories that would help you express your gender. Try doing this in safe spaces. That could even mean the bathroom. If you're feeling anxious and want to calm yourself down, try grounding technique. It is a form to stay in touch with your senses in the here and now. I'll tell you how we can do this. Name any 5 things you can see. Name any 4 things you can hear. Touch any 3 things you can touch in terms of texture. Name any 2 things you can smell, so try smelling. And taste any 1 thing that's around you. It could even mean put an ice in your mouth at that moment. These are things that you can do to focus on your mental health. Until then, please remember that you're not alone. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors.
How and what do we tell people who are surrounded by members of the community? How do we react? How do we behave? A tip or two from all of you would be maybe a word forward for a change in mentality. Sharif, do you want to start off?
Yeah. Well, really, at this point in time, I think I can only look into the future, hopefully, is that if we can have more programming on, I think that comes from channels such as yours, etc. If we can have more stories to tell and find that common ground, that I'm talking about really into the, post-COVID-19 kind of scenario, that we spell out the common ground so that we can at least engage at that level where people see each one as human beings and not limited by an identity alone,
First, please, these are not just members of the LGBTIQ community. These are your loved ones. These are people, these are your sons, daughters, or whatever you are. But these are human beings, and these are who and we are who we are. And please mind our pronouns. Please take care of our. This can lead to suicide. You can lose a loved one because of not understanding what the issues are, what our issues are. And please mind that if one life is lost, and the blood will be on your hands because you didn't understand what the person was going through. So please do take care of your loved ones. and your son's daughters or your cousin's friends, lovers, or
Right.
whoever they are.
Right, right. Respect them, allow them to live with pride. Vivek, would you say the same?
Well, I would kind of, because I've been working 25 years, one thing I'd like to do is bring government into picture right now,
Yeah.
because after the Supreme Court judgment of 2018, which clearly said that government should introduce programs to reduce stigma and discrimination against the LGBTQ community, nothing, absolutely nothing has happened so far. And secondly, as Sharif said, I feel media has a very huge role to play in this scenario, especially in time during lockdown times. If there could be messages from different channels or different platforms.
Well, we're doing our
reach
best.
every
India
household.
Today is doing our
Yeah.
best. I hope this, all of your voices echo with those.
Yeah. I mean, today, if there are any parents who are listening to us, it is something, they need to know that these are your children. These are not different.
Right. Vivek, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, all of you. Let's hope all your words resonate with those families who are having a member of the LGBTQ within their homes. This is a time to respect them, allow them to live with pride, give them their space. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.